I'm Karen Allen. I'm also project manager with the PSIC office. Like I said, I'm just going to kind of go through this quickly. I do have a tendency to talk fast, so if you miss something, you can raise your hand and tell me to slow down. But just to give you a background, Justin gave you some in the beginning, but the All-Hazard COML position in ICS was established by OEC back in 2007. It was designed by responders, so it was designed by people that are actually the ones who are going to be doing the job. Since that time, over 4,000 COMLs have been trained and 56 states and territories. And there's no federal credentialing for this, so we've established a program within Arizona to credential COMLs regionally. Our program has actually been copied by other states throughout the nation, and they've built their program after ours, so that says a lot about the program in Arizona. We provide training classes around the state for COML and COMT. So we use grant money to do that. That way it allows people to go to the training without having to put money out for it. Because we know it's tight to get training approved around the state. So since 2009, we've had 250 students do the COML course and 82 do the COMT. A lot of what we do is based on the Department of Homeland Security racks, so you kind of see this broken down by regions. So the north part of the state, south, east, west, and it's kind of broken down to give you an idea of how many people have been trained and gone through training. Just put a couple things up here so you can kind of see what you learn when you're going through the class. This is really high level, but basically what it is, when you're going through the COML class, like Mike pointed out, he's one of our instructors that says COML and COMT in the state. They'll give you a high level, or they'll give you the overview of what your responsibility is as a COML. So what happens when you get on scene? What happens while you're on scene? What happens when you're demoting? What are all the things that you're responsible for while you're doing that job? And so they're going to go through and they're going to give you classroom type, and then what they're going to do is do some practical with you. They're going to give you a scenario, and they're going to say, here's your scenario. Fill out this form. What else are you going to do? How are you going to problem solve this? So they're kind of making you think about things while you're in there, and they're helping them understand what their responsibility is while they're going through that class. And there is an exercise that they do at the end. And then with the COMT, it's very similar, that they give them the responsibility, or they tell them what the responsibilities are. One thing about COMT is they have toys. So they bring in the gateways, the telephones, the computers. They bring all that stuff in and let them play with it, see how it works, talk to them about what the options are with that equipment. And so they get to get a little more hands-on in this class with that type of thing. And then, again, go through what happens when you're mobilized out to the scene, what are your responsibilities, and what do you bring to the table with this. So once you've taken the class, you have 3 years to get your Taskbook signed off if you want to be regionally recognized. So when you take the class, you can go back 3 years, and you can say, what have I done to get my Taskbook signed off? And then you can go forward 3 years, and you say, okay, what am I doing to get my Taskbook signed off? So you really have a lot of leeway there to get your Taskbook finished. You can be agency certified and kind of bouncing down to the bottom. A lot of people start with the agency level certification and then move on to the regional level. Agency is a little bit easier for people. You know how your system works. You know what your capabilities are. You're probably pretty familiar with the people around you to kind of get you started. And then you move out to the regional to where you start learning about the people around you and what the capabilities are. Like the guys have all been talking about, what you need to make that interoperability happen. We do have a list on our website of all the people that have been regionally recognized. So if you ever need that, we will provide that information. All of these slides will be on our website when we're done. You have handouts that have our website listed all over it, so it's a great resource with a lot of information on it. So we do keep that list on there so that if somebody needs to call out a COML or COMT, they can go to this list and they can see who we have, and it's broken down by county. Some of the things we've been talking about, and one of the reasons we wanted to put this class on, is to make sure that people understood the value of the COML and COMT, and I think they've done a great job of explaining all that and making sure that you understand what they can bring to the table. Also, we want to talk about we have a lot of people who've gone through class that haven't always been given the opportunity to get their Taskbook signed off. So what are some things that we can do within our organizations to accomplish that? So we want to encourage mentorship. One of the things I know Justin brought up NASCAR, last year they brought some people out during the NASCAR event, and they kind of put them to work. I think you guys got to go last year. Helps with radios. They had radios that needed to be deployed, radios that needed to be programmed. They looked at the repeaters to get them programmed. So they brought people out and gave them the opportunity to do some hands-on. So if you have events going on, you know maybe there's some neighboring agencies that need some help getting their task force signed up, or even just to understand how everything works. If you can invite them over and create a mentorship type between the different comm units or the comm people, that'd be great. Shadowing opportunities, same type of thing. You have a planned event, you have people going to your briefing, you know there's a trainee out there that maybe needs that experience, invite them into the briefing. Let them create the 205 based on what they've heard, and then bring your experienced person in to look that over with them and talk to them about it. How did they do? What could they learn? And how could they grow in how they're building their 205s? Same thing with the technical standpoint. Let them listen to what the issues are, the challenges are. I mean, we've heard a lot of challenges with these events. So let the trainees kind of work through it and see what they can do with it. No matter what you've got going on, incidents, exercises, I think everybody's kind of hit on that. There's always tasks that can be completed. So just to give you a couple examples of the tasks that are in the Taskbook that have to be signed off, you've got one here that talks about you can include your assigned resources in a draft incident 205. So getting people to fill out their 205s. Some of the tasks in the Taskbook have to be signed off by working through an actual incident, and some can be signed off by working through a training or an exercise. So kind of looking at that as how can we do both? When can we take advantage of a training or exercise to allow people to get signed off? And then here's one more. We talked a lot about how important it is to get your COML and your COMT involved in your planning meetings. If you've got something going on and you're having the conversations about what are we going to do, how are we going to handle this event, bringing people in the beginning and just letting them sit and listen, they can provide you with so much information about what they can do for you, what challenge you need, what challenges are available, how do we allow everybody to talk, and accomplish the mission that we have at hand. Routine training. This is something a lot of times we don't think about in terms of bringing comm people in. If you have training within your organization, on the sworn side, police and fire, you have hazmat training. You're constantly keeping your people up to date. You're going through training. You're going through exercises. And so on the PD side, we do the same thing. So it's important to bring your comm people into that. Let them watch what you're doing. Let them understand, okay, in an active shooter situation, these are all the things that are going to happen. Well, if multiple agencies start coming in, and the COML has been through this training and watched you work through that exercise, understands all the things that are going to happen, when the time comes on a live event and they need to start helping you build a comm plan, they're going to understand already what you're going to do, and they're going to be able to help you walk through that and get you going a lot quicker. So you also build relationships in these situations. So you bring your comm people out here, they start meeting with the people that are in the middle of this exercise, they start talking to them about what they need, they start talking to them about what they can provide. You've heard, I think, from all three of the guys about relationships are huge. Having that trust built in ahead of time is important. People need to know what you can do for each other and how the comm person is there to support you. Anytime you can do a multi-agency or you can bring people together to talk, that's always important. Again, you build relationships between agencies. I just hit the wrong button. Dispatch personnel, we know how important they are. We know that when an incident happens that's unplanned, who's the first person that's going to manage it? Your dispatchers. And so you rely a lot on them to understand how things need to happen and what needs to happen. I was at a meeting last week where there's a contractor who goes around and does exercises with different agencies, and he had done one with a group of dispatch personnel from all different agencies. One of the agencies required all their supervisors to go through COML class. They weren't necessarily going to get their book signed off, but they understood what needed to happen. And that group of dispatch supervisors were so much more in tune with everything that was going to happen and knew what answers to provide as they were going through the exercise, that the other agencies were saying, wow, this is a good idea, maybe we need to start sending people through these classes. So that's something we would encourage with our COML classes and COMT classes. Just because you go through it, you don't have to have your taskbook signed up, but there's some value in just going and understand what the role and responsibility is. Also, attending regional meetings. I know in the Valley here and down in Yuma especially, there's some really strong communications groups. People get together, they talk, they share stories, they share lessons learned, and it's very helpful when the time comes for a real event that they already know how to handle things, they know what resources are out there. And so those relationships, again, are very important. One of the things that we're always looking for is how can we help? Putting together classes like this, putting together online training, providing other resources to you. So anytime you have a suggestion or recommendation, we're always open for that because we want to help with interoperability in any way we can. This is one of the ways, but we have a communication field day coming up. And what this is we did this last year for the first time, and we have stations around that are set up to where people who are trying to get their taskbook signed off for COML and COMT can come in and they can work with the gateway and show how that gateway works. They can work with programming radios. They can go and do different things that are in their taskbook to try to get some of the tasks signed off to help them complete their taskbook. You can't finish your taskbook as this. You can't do everything in there, but you can at least get a good jumping off point. Attendance is limited because we can only handle so many people based on the way the stations are set up. Only people who have been through the COML or COMT class in the last 3 years can attend. So if you have anybody in your agency that fits that and you want to send them, please go ahead and look online and there's more information. We also have a flyer in the packet that you got that gives all the information on the field day with the date and then a lot of the details. And we do encourage support from the agency because if you're going to spend the time there and you're going to get your taskbook started, you want your agency to support you to finish that taskbook. Just a few things that are on our website. Again, it's got it listed up here, but the training programs for COML and COMT, your taskbook template, submission, a lot of support for doing your taskbook on the website. There's also an FAQ document if you have questions about the COML and COMT. Again, our resource list, which are all the people who've been through the COML and COMT class, recognition program. Anytime we have upcoming courses, we are going to be offering some COML and COMT classes over the next year, so we'll be advertising those. If you want to get on the list, there's a sign up there where you can get on the listserv and get all the information. Also, our main list that we have for our listserv, we put information out on there for classes like this, classes like that. And so if you want to get on there, you're also welcome to. TICP, I know Mike talked a lot about the TICP, the Tactical Interoperable Communications Plan. And just, as Justin mentioned also earlier, by the end of the year, all of the counties in Arizona will have one. A couple things about a TICP is that it has all the assets in your area. So who has radio caches? Who has repeaters? What's programmed in them? What frequency are they? Who do I call to get them? So all that information is listed in here. It's a one-stop shop if you want to get that information. We do not provide that TICP document out to people. So it's a point of contact assigned to each TICP. And so that person would be the person you would go to if you want to get a copy of the TICP for your area. We do recommend it. Again, going back to dispatch personnel, make sure they're familiar with it. Make sure they have a copy of it. Make sure they understand what resources are out there. Because if they're your starting point to try to start your interoperability, then make sure they have the resources that they need. Another thing that's really important with the TICP, if you're involved in that at all, is making sure that you're revisiting it every year, every 2 years, to make sure everything's still current in it. Are the radios still out there? Are they still available? Points of contact are important. Sometimes people put a person as a point of contact for a piece of equipment. People change. People move to different positions. So you want to make sure that that's all available for you when you need it. So do you think you know what a code is? It's not this. This is just my silly part of the show. It's this. And I don't know if you all know that we have statewide assets that are available for deployment. So we have these codes. There's 4 of them around the state. They're available for deployment. Justin talked about them a little bit earlier. The county emergency managers are responsible for them, but if you need them, they're there for you. They have gateways in them. They have satellite in them. They have camera up on the mast for you. They have a lot of resources in them. Sorry, I have to endure 2 of these. And then there's the bullfrog. And this guy actually lives over at the National Guard, for those of you in the Valley. He lives over there off of McDowell. And so this is also available statewide. It's a resource that can be deployed. It comes with a technical support. And so you have someone there that can go with it. Like I said, the bullfrog lives over at ADM, over at the National Guard. The 4 toads each live in the different counties. They're deployed around the state to be available to go throughout the state and wherever is needed. So if you need a communications asset, I'm going to tell you, we have created SOPs for them that tell you everything that's on it, tells you how the equipment works, and tells you how to get a hold of each of the vehicles. So that is available. We also have a video SOP. You're going to have to do that, right? Okay. We were very fortunate this year that we got what's called a technical assistance grant, which means we got the ability to bring contractors in to help us create this SOP. So we worked very closely with ADEM, who oversees the toads and the bullfrogs, the Arizona Department of Emergency Management. And we put together these SOPs so that anybody could pick it up, they could look at it, there's pictures in there, it tells you how to start the equipment, how to stabilize the vehicle, all the different things that need to happen. The man of the hour just walked in the back. Our vodka back there is with Adam, who just walked in. I'll just embarrass him. He did a lot of work on these SOPs, putting them together so that anytime somebody uses a vehicle, they've got all that documentation right there. But as a bonus, our Office of Emergency Communications wanted to beta test and see what it would be like to create a video SOP. To bring a videographer out and to go through each of the steps and go through each of the pieces of equipment and video how that equipment works. Mark was our model. He went through and he wrote the audio for everything and he demonstrated everything, so he did a great job. Justin's going to go ahead and start just a really quick video. And I'm going to talk even faster to get done so we can do the question and answer. Let's hear that.
Available for rapid deployment throughout the state and can be set up in approximately 45 minutes from the scene of arrival. The vehicle's primary purpose is to provide advanced communications support to incident responders for a short time, 48 to 72 hours. The vehicle is designed to ensure that on-site public safety officials have interoperable radio connectivity with one another as well as to local infrastructure, even in areas with no fixed coverage. Communications capabilities include radio communications for a wide variety of users across multiple spectrums via the onboard AZU 1000. Inside and outside the vehicle, users connect to the internet via the onboard network that includes a wireless access point for external users. This IP telephone connectivity is through an onboard broadband satellite system. The vehicle includes an IP camera mounted on an extendable mast with pan, tilt, zoom capabilities and viewing inside the vehicle.
So what we did is we created, I think there's about 6 or 7 of these, and they're broken down so that you don't have to watch the whole thing. If you just want to know how do I stabilize the vehicle, you can watch that. How do I set the generator up? How do I set up shore power? How do I do the satellite? You're able to watch those, and you can just get that part. So they came out great. ADEM's hoping to get those up on our website. So they're available to anybody that wants to look at it, to understand what's in there, to understand the capabilities. So we're really going to be trying to push that to get that out to everybody to help people understand that these exist and they're available.